Well, hi, everybody. I'm Brendan Gulick with Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated, getting you ready for the 2022 spring game. Hard to believe it, but spring practice is just about over at this point. And in about 48 hours, Ohio State will take the field at Ohio Stadium to get ready for the 2022 spring game. If you are interested in attending, tickets, I believe, are as inexpensive as $7. I think there are some club seats available for slightly more than that, but it's not an expensive ticket price for sure. And if you are not able to make the game but want to follow along, it is being broadcast on Big Ten Network. Brandon Gaudin, Joshua Perry, and Elise Menaker are doing the broadcast for Big Ten Network. So that's Saturday at 12 noon. If you're not down at the stadium, you can check it out on TV, and you can certainly follow along with us here on Buckeyes Now. Ryan Day spoke with the media this afternoon for about a half an hour, and wanted to share some thoughts that he relayed to the media and give you an idea what to expect here for this coming weekend spring game. But before we talk about the game, I think a lot of people were kind of wondering what involvement the team might have in honoring and remembering Dwayne Haskins this weekend. And Coach Day addressed that pretty early in his press conference. He said that there will be a moment of silence before the game starts. And they do have a video tribute for Dwayne at some point, either end of the first quarter or first half. But they will certainly have something to remember him. And I'm not sure if they have made a decision yet on something that they could do throughout the course of the year. But certainly know that this team is still having a tough time moving forward without somebody who means an awful lot to this program and was a teammate of a lot of the guys on the roster. Just an awful tragedy here from this past week. So they will honor Dwayne on Saturday at the spring game. Turning our attention to the game itself, I think perhaps the thing that's most noticeable, if you're used to seeing Ohio State spring games in the past, a couple of years ago, I think they had Team Brutus and Team Buckeye. Certainly they've had Scarlet versus Gray. They're actually just doing an offense versus defense this year, with the idea that rather than having, offensive guys on both sides of the field and defensive guys on both sidelines, just an easier way to kind of get your arms around who's in the game and controlling, it's the same number of snaps. It's the same number of rotations, but they've just decided to go about it. Offense versus defense is how they'll kind of move up and down the field. The other giant difference that you'll notice in a spring game that I think caught some folks by surprise, Coach Day has decided that there is going to be at least a portion of this game where they're going to tackle to the ground. They will have what he's calling a thud portion, right? Kind of hit and wrap up, but not tackle. They'll have that for, a good portion of the beginning of the game. But the Buckeyes will be tackling to the ground in the spring game. And, there's a part of me, even though he didn't say that, there's a part of me that kind of wonders how much that is just a continued emphasis on the physicality that this team certainly needed to improve upon from last year. It certainly bothered fans. I have to think that it bothered the coaching staff and the strength staff about some of the comments, nationally, regionally, from fans about how the team wasn't physical enough in certain games last year. And that certainly showed in losses to Oregon and to Michigan. So there's a part of me that just believes that this is, just, hey, we're not going to waste any opportunity to go out and be physical and show some toughness, because Coach Day did mention we got to be ready for Notre Dame. They're coming here, September 3rd to start the season. And while it's still several months away, it's also not that far off. You're not going to have any drastic differences, with what your roster looks like now versus then, unless you have injuries. So, guys are starting to settle into some roles. The new defense has been at least, in part installed. And I think they want to make sure that they, don't waste any opportunities to showcase some toughness and physicality. Speaking of the new defense, I think that's what I'm most, interested to watch on Saturday. I think many of you probably feel the same way. You got a new defensive coordinator who's going to be on the sideline in Ohio Stadium for the first time, and a couple of other new coaches on that side of the ball. what's it look like? What's the defense look like? What kind of speed do they play with? What do the rotations look like? There's a lot of question marks. I think, we're looking forward to seeing how those are answered on Saturday. Ryan Day did temper expectations a little bit and said that they're very happy with the progress they've made installing the new defense, but it's going to be a pretty basic look defensively on Saturday. First of all, I'm sure they don't want to put anything on tape that they don't need to, but just kind of get into the rhythm and flow and feel for things, and essentially what's a glorified practice. He didn't mention too many guys individually by name. I think Coach Day tries not to do that too often because it feels like, somebody might take offense if he doesn't, single out everybody. But he did mention Tommy Eichenberg's name as somebody who has been fast and decisive and made a ton of progress here in this, latest portion of spring practice. And look, what Tommy did in the Rose Bowl was incredible. I mean, he obviously had a pretty tough start to the season last year, but as the year went along, it was pretty clear that he needed to be on the field. And in the team's, last appearance on the field, and in a game where you certainly needed to play good defense against a Utah team that wouldn't go away. I mean, Tommy had 17 tackles. He played great. And I would expect that, considering we've also heard Jim Knowles reference how well Tommy's been playing, I would anticipate that you're going to see quite a bit of Tommy Eichenberg this year. Just a gut feeling. A few other things to kind of hit on from the quarterback perspective. CJ Stroud, Kyle McCord, Devin Brown are all going to play. They may not all just play with, CJ with the ones, Devin with the threes, Kyle with the twos. They may mix and match that a little bit. It's fine with me. I'd love to kind of see what those different things might look like. But Ryan Day's comment was, hey, look, as a quarterback in this game, just make the routine things look routine. Make the right read, deliver the ball on time. You don't need to be a hero. Just keep things chugging along. We got pretty used to seeing some great highlights last year, so perhaps we'll be in for some fun. And you might remember in last year's spring game when there still was a quarterback competition, right in the thick of it. Kyle McCord, who, came on second in that spring game. I think his first completed pass in Ohio Stadium was like a 60-yard post route down the middle of the field. Maybe we'll see that from Devin Brown. Who knows? But looking forward to seeing all three quarterbacks get an opportunity to compete in the shoe on Saturday. A few other things that he talked about in terms of like some individual matchups that he's enjoyed watching during camp. He said the defensive ends against the offensive tackles have certainly been fun to watch. They've made each other better. And considering the offensive line is going to have 2 new starters this year, the offense in general, 5 new starters, Olave, Wilson, Ruckert, Petit Frere, and Munford have all moved on. There are certainly guys that have gotten a bunch of playing time that are filling those spots, but it is going to be a slightly different looking offense. Ryan Day likes what he's seen from the defensive ends. I can't wait to see what Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau in particular look like on Saturday afternoon. He also pointed out the cornerbacks in particular and said, for being a fairly young group going up against some extremely talented wide receivers, we certainly saw what Denzel Burke was capable of last year, but Jordan and JK and Cam Brown, some guys that, are going to factor into some playing time this year. Looking forward to seeing how they play on Saturday, because Ryan Day said it's been impressive and fun to watch them so far in camp, and they've made life difficult on this talented group of receivers. So that should be fun as well. Areas of concern that he's seen so far through camp: needs to develop a little bit more depth on the offensive line and depth at safety. He said it's not about, not having guys that are capable of filling those roles. It's got more to do with who's game ready. And the reality is you don't really need to be game ready in April. It's okay to be working up toward that. But those are the 2 position groups that he pointed out and said we need to keep developing. I think he mentioned 6 to 7 offensive linemen that he feels could be game ready right now. They need to get that more toward 8 or 9. And just some question marks at safety, right? Sonny Styles and Kai Stokes. First of all, Sonny's not coming until the summer, and Kai is still getting his feet wet. Josh Proctor, great news. You're going to see him on Saturday. He's probably only going to compete in that thud portion of practice. He won't be out there tackling, but considering that, he went through a pretty awful leg injury that ended his season early in the year. It'll be great to have him back out there. How does he fit in this picture? How does Tanner McAllister fit in this picture? Need to figure out some more game readiness at safety, in Ryan Day's words. Injury updates, Lathan Ransom and Josh Fryer, he said, should be back this summer. Marcus Crowley's injury, he said they really haven't made a firm decision on it yet, but it's probably a longer-term injury. Unfortunately, not sure when we're going to see Marcus Crowley again. The Buckeye running back room certainly has, its leader in Travion Henderson and in Mayan Williams. Need to get healthier in that room and develop a little bit more depth, but your top end guys, I think the Buckeyes are feeling pretty good about. I think those are all the big portions here for Saturday's game. Looking forward to seeing what this team looks like, the energy they play with. I'm excited to see the tribute that they put together for Dwayne Haskins, which again should be a nice video tribute for him after a moment of silence early in the game. And the one last thing was Dwayne's service on Friday next week. I knew I was missing something. The Buckeyes want to be a part of whatever they can to support Dwayne and his family. Ryan Day made the comment that he's a little more focused on the game itself this week, and then they'll kind of look forward and figure out what they can do to help support Dwayne and his family for his memorial services next week. Okay, follow along with us on Buckeyes Now on SI. We'd certainly appreciate it if you made us part of your Saturday coverage. We'll have you covered on our social media channels, Buckeyes Now on SI, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll have more video coverage analyzing game one of or I guess it's game 0 if you want to think about it that way. It's the 2022 spring game, and we'll certainly have you covered as well over on BuckeyesNow.com. I'm Brendan Gulick. Enjoy the day on Saturday. It'll be great to have some football out at Ohio Stadium. We'll see you at the Shoe at 12 noon.